Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Mining Conversation with MsTedy. The podcast is proudly sponsored by MENAR, and today we are joined by Thabani Mdlongwa, an Assistant Director, Research and Policy at the CGE, and we are just continuing our conversation that we had with Rashka Naidu on women in mining. Before we start our conversation, I'd like to thank my team, which is Kamuhelo Mailangabi, Nkele Khatebe, and Tsepo. And Tsepo as well. And before I even start the conversation as well, please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and follow so that you do not miss any of our episodes. So, Thabani Mdlongwa, welcome.
Thank you, MsTedy.
Are you good?
I'm well, thanks.
Wonderful. So let's just start with understanding what Commission of Gender Equality is.
So the Commission for Gender Equality is a Chapter 9 institution. Its mandate comes from the Constitution, specifically Section 187 of the Constitution. And the mandate really is to promote, develop, and achieve gender equality.
Okay.
And we've got three main roles which come under the CGE Act. So we've got a monitoring and evaluation role, which is basically to review policies, research and investigation, undertaking studies and taking complaints, education and advocacy, and legislative input, and also reporting on international mechanism in compliance with international gender protocols. So those are the four main streams which come from our mandate.
Okay, so when it comes to the mining industry, what would you say, what is the role of the CGE within the mining industry or sector?
Well, our role is not really in terms of, we are an oversight body, so our role is more sort of at a higher level, in the sense that if there are challenges within the sector, obviously those are reported to the Mineral Council and so forth. Ours is to try and force to ensure companies, maybe mining companies, try and input things like gender mainstreaming within their companies. So we do things like advocacy. The Public Education and Information Program does some of those things where it maybe is educating them on what kind of gender mainstreaming, how to put gender mainstreaming and what. But our role is more like if there are complaints, let's say, which maybe will go to the Mineral Council of South Africa, what ours then is to see how, put pressure on the Mineral Council to resolve those complaints. It's not a direct role at that stage, at the mining. So in the mining, that's our general mandate. We are at the top level, so it's almost similar like in the public projector. We don't really get involved in the sectors per se, but we have a broad mandate, obviously looking at gender equality and so forth, and we come in at that level.
Okay, so we know that with the mining industry, it's mostly male-dominated, or is still male-dominated, you know? So when, like you say, you mentioned that Mineral Council, all these complaints that are there and everything. So with women in the mining industry, what would you say are the broader issues that are still faced by women who are in the mining industry?
Yeah, there are several issues, and some of these we have picked up, obviously, from our reports. So one of them is underrepresentation. Women remain a small percentage within mining. I think stats which we recently were saying about 14% compared to other countries. Leadership exclusion, they are usually not part of the boards or form part of leadership, still mainly dominated in senior and board positions. Then there's the issues around inadequate infrastructure. PPE, personal protective equipment, usually is not fit for women. There are issues around that, and then there's also issues around, so in terms of infrastructure, it's also facilities, safe transport, abolition, and because although there are women who may work in mines, they may not have necessarily things were designed mostly for men working there. Then there's also GBV and harassment. which continues to be a challenge, and also the pay gap and occupational segregation also, I think, are really some of the challenges, and then a lack of leadership commitment. So I think those broadly, there are about 6 challenges there, which are the challenges which the sector still faces. These we've picked up, as I said, they're not just thumb-sucked through some of our empirical research by both the legal and the research teams within the CGE.
Okay.
Yes.
So, are there any recommendations that as CGE you've offered to the sector and to how to then handle all these issues that are being faced by women in the industry?
Yes, we have made recommendations. I wouldn't say broadly to the sector per se, but
Okay.
depending on whatever report we have done, we always do offer certainly key recommendations which we have done. And another way we have tried to achieve accountability is we have got gender transformation hearings where we hold some of the companies publicly accountable for equity mechanisms and what. We do this because these things are in the Constitution in terms of achieving gender equality is a constitutional mandate. So it applies across whether it's private companies or not. It's not something that is, you cannot do it. You have to do it. It's a constitutional mandate. So our recommendations, yes, we do make them based on whatever sector or whatever reports would have made, yes. So there are various recommendations we've made. Just to sort of give a general feel, is kind of, we have definitely advocated that there be changes in terms of transformation. We have more women. We've advocated for more women in leadership, senior roles. We've advocated that a lot of the mining companies where we have some of the studies we have done, like we did some studies with companies, some reports with Anglo-American, African Rainbow Minerals, advocated that they incorporate gender mainstreaming. They have policies which are gender mainstreamed, looking at sexual harassment, GBV. They develop all these policies. Certainly, and I think when we initially did a first study, which was around 2013, on some of the mining subsidiaries, and we followed one in 2023, a follow-up, certainly there were some huge changes they made from where they were to where they were now. There's been big improvements, but there's still room for much more improvement. I think especially the issue around women in senior leadership positions and that kind of thing. So those are the kind of recommendations we do make within the sector.
And why do you think the women are facing such challenges within the sector? Is it because of policies, or is it because men find it difficult to accommodate women? What is going on in the sector that women would experience GBV, the PPE issues still, in everything that you've mentioned?
I think it's a mix of factors. So you certainly still have issues around patriarchal tendencies and so forth. But the other issue is really about attitudes and stereotypes. It's about changing. Remember, we're coming from a sector that really was heavily male-dominated, and women were not really playing much in a role and that type of thing. So it's also about changing stereotypes and attitudes and perceptions. I think that's what critically needs to change more than anything else, really. Policies, yes, also. There's been a challenge in that most companies have not had them. They are adopting them recently or in recent times. And it's about implementing those policies, but not just for, what can I say? We don't want a situation where people implement policies to, what can I say, cover face. So like you implement a policy to say maybe we have employed 5 women at senior level, yet maybe they don't have authority or what. The policies should really be ingrained in a sense that it's also shifting attitudes and changes, that type of thing. It's really a mindset thing. That's what the CGE is sort of trying to look at. Yes, so that's really, I think those have been the challenges. Really, it's that history, the patriarchal attitudes and norms, and trying to change those.
And then also you mentioned that with the mining industry, we're still behind when it comes to hiring or is
Yes.
employing women in the industry. So I was looking at the numbers. Currently, it's sitting at mine employees total numbers 188,000, right? And then with 37,000 being only women, which makes it about 19%.
Yeah.
That number, is it a good number, a bad number, or is we doing okay as a country? Like we are moving forward compared to how it was in the past.
I would say I wouldn't say it's a good number as such. Obviously, there are still challenges. I think also it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult for me to really say whether it's a good number or what. But you can still, just from those stats, you can see that there's still a challenge in
Yeah.
the women penetrating the sector. From those challenges. So what it does show is that there's still a challenge in the sector. That's what I can say in the mining sector.
So when it comes to gender promotion or promoting gender transformation in the mining industry, when it comes to the LGBTQIA community, how would you say the mining sector has is moving when it comes to that community? Is that community accepted? Are they able to move freely, or is there still discrimination that happens towards them?
Yeah, I think it's an area which is under researched, and we still I cannot really give you specific statistics, but certainly given just the context of LGBTQIA, they are often discriminated. Yes, so it's something that needs certainly more in-depth research to look at, and CGE, some of the things going forward or research studies is to look into more research around LGBTQI persons and gender diverse persons, just to really diversify in terms of our studies or what, and even including people, persons with disabilities. So
Yes.
it's really, yeah, I would just say right now it's under researched, and it's something certainly to look into in much more detail going forward.
Yeah. Okay, so when we also had the conversation with Rashka Naidu, she had mentioned that not only is the mining sector maybe, I won't say struggling, but still behind in employing women,
Yes.
then you find with another issue is the retention of women
Oh,
within the
yes, yeah,
industry.
yeah.
What would it take for the mine sector to be able to not just employ more women, but also be able to retain women within the sector?
Yeah, so it goes back again to some of the challenges raised initially. So what it will take is definitely a change of policies.
Yeah.
So the policies which really changed and are implemented and are actually followed within the various companies, in terms of change, really having those gender policies, whether it's sexual harassment, GBV, maternity leave, all those, and making sure they're actually implemented. So, because people will feel comfortable if these things are really implemented. A change of culture within the organizations is also critical for the various women to stay. So they will want to see that change in culture. And also the issue around, obviously, being able to grow and achieve and be paid at a good remuneration level, in terms of not to be a pay gap because they are women, they are not paid the same as their male counterparts. So I think if there can be shifts in those things, the pay, the cultural kind of leadership, and the policies to make sure those are actually being implemented and proper, maybe we'll start to see those changes where the women are staying within those mining companies because they are seeing that there are those changes and they feel part of it, you know. The reason why people may leave is there may be other opportunities else and they are not seeing the changes, you know. So I think if that were to happen, I think that's when we'll start to see a shift in that kind of statistics of them not being able to be retained.
And when you say pay gaps, how bad is the gap? Because I know in South Africa we still have that unequal pay between men and. But how bad is it within the sector?
It's difficult for me to really say. It's not. I'm not really a mining expert, but it is there.
It is there.
Yeah, but I can't really say here to give exact stats on how bad the pay gap is.
Okay, and then so do you then as CGE speak to, or I don't know, when it comes to policies, do you guys then play a part in just when it comes to policy and the changes that needs to be done, and do you speak on that? Do you do recommendations on policies,
So I
or
think
what happens when it comes to policies?
to policies specifically,
Yeah.
or
Policies within that govern the mining industry that speak on women issues and.
so in terms of policy advocacy and sort of law reform, we try and do we've tried to do about 4 key things. One of them is obviously looking at the mining charter in code amendments. So we've lobbied for clear gender equity clauses and gender responsive budgeting
Okay.
in terms of the mining charter. There is something called the Wedgie Bill, Women Economic Empowerment Gender Equity Bill, advocating for 50% of representation of women in senior management. We have done that. And then also recommending in terms of recommending in terms of the mining regulations,
Yeah.
audits and reporting for gender programs. And also some of the issues we have tried to do interdepartmental coordination with like Department of Mineral Resources and the Charter of Mines to embed gender metrics and accountability. So that's what we have done around that area in terms of trying to sort of get policy. So it's policy advocacy and try and also do some reforms in terms of some of the legislature.
Okay, and then with the Mineral Council as well, I think it was in 2023, when they 2022-2023, when they issued a statement or made a statement saying that they want to see a double number, or they're hoping that a woman's number will double by 2025. So, in order to achieve that double number, what do you think will take if the mining sector is serious about increasing the number of women that come into the industry?
Yeah, it's going to take concerted efforts to basically do the things I spoke to about earlier. Changing the culture within the industry, ensuring enforcement of policies which attract women and make sure they stay ensuring that happens. Obviously, it also includes specific programs to recruit and retain women. You will have to, the recruitment processes and what will have to be sort of improved upon to ensure that it happens. So I think if those things can happen, and as I was saying earlier on, ensuring that more women can be able to arise to leadership positions and the issues around what is it called, pay and so on addressed, I think that will help them obviously in terms of trying to achieve those goals. So it's to shift mindsets, but also coupled with enforcement of policy and so forth, that will help in that regard.
Yeah. Okay, and then when it comes to women who are in leadership positions in the mining industry, do they get that support? Do they get that support? Are they, do they get that backup that they need in order for them to be able to do their job? What pressures do they get being like, is it different from being a male who is in that position and a woman who's do they receive the same support, or you find with women, they're not trusted maybe, or what's happening?
Yeah, I think they do face challenges of support, which obviously has come from obviously our reports, and it goes back again, as I was saying, to some of the policies. You need to have more gender sensitive policies which can help women in their roles. Women, the issues around maternity leave and other types of benefits. We need to see kind of changes, which support women. And this is not just for the mining sector. We are talking of even across the board. People can start introducing innovative things or things which affect women, period leave, things like that, just to really show that there's something more serious in terms of supporting women. So I think if you start to have policies which actually support women and other options which can be more flexible in the workplace, whether it's flexible work, so that a mother who can be able to sometimes come in the office if supporting a child, not always be in the office, those type of things. It's a company by company basis, but it's just to have sort of arrangements or policies which actually support women to be able to do their jobs, have their career, but at the same time be able also to be with their families and have that dual role. But often you find that you have to sacrifice your social and family just to do the work, and I think that's where the real challenge is.
Yeah. All right. So, in closing, as the Commission Gender, what is it? Commission
Yes.
Gender Equality, Commission of Gender Equality, your hopes for the mining sector. What is it? Where would you like to see the mining sector of South Africa heading to for a better industry, so that the future of the industry as well is brighter, not just for us, but for the coming generation, especially women, and as well as the other community that I have mentioned?
I think, it would be good to start to see certainly the changes in terms of those senior leadership positions and more women being retained in their positions. Would like to see more mining companies implementing gender mainstreaming and really understanding it, and what we call it, really achieving substantive equality. We talk about that in CGE.
Yeah.
Substantive equality is making sure it's not just policies and programs are in place, but actually those things are followed up with real changes, and we start, as I was saying, you start seeing changes in culture, in perceptions, where women are really accepted as their peers. They are not seen as inferior or those type of changes. So if that could happen, I think it certainly goes a long way. A lot of from our reports some of the companies did not have even these gender mainstreaming GBV. They did not even have those. So a starting point is to actually have the policies in place and then implement them, make sure they are there, changes of culture, and obviously some transformation, and to see what happens. So I think if that can happen, that would put the sector in a much better space going forward. Obviously for CGE, it's just to see really what is it called as a constitutional authority. We want to see those changes happening from a gender perspective and to achieve substantive gender equality.
Okay, wonderful. So, Thabani, thank you so much for this lovely interview that we had.
Thank you.
I did mention when we were off camera that you are the last, this is our last episode for season 2, so we are closing off with this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so that was Thabani Mdlongwa, an Assistant Director, Research and Policy at the Commission of Gender Equality, and we're looking at some of the issues that are still faced by the women in the mining industry. So with that being said, I'd like to say thank you so much for your support for our season 2. So we are closing this season with this episode, and we are coming back with more episodes on season 3 that are full of information, knowledge, and that will then help us look into the issues that are faced with in the mining industry, and also maybe come up with some solutions that will help the mining industry of South Africa. With that being said, I'd like to thank Menor for being our sponsor since from season 1. And I'd also like to thank my team, which is Kamuhelo Malangabi, Tsepo Munyamani, as well as Nkele Khatebe. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and follow, and also look out for season 3. With that being said, thank you so much, and until next time, goodbye.